was after my first year in seminary, and I was doing an internship in Portland at a parish, and they divided up Portland into segments, and that was our mini parish. And one of our duties was to go to an elderly congregate housing and do a service there once a week. And I volunteered for the first week, imagine. So there we are, and I picked today's Dave. That was just remarkable dexterity up there, and he kind of stole the show there, but anyway. So I chose the Good Shepherd and the 23rd Psalm, and I thought this is going to be very comforting to these people. So I did the preacher thing, and everybody woke up from their nap for the 23rd Psalm. They went back to nap. They went into deep sleep when I began to preach. But they woke up for the Lord's Prayer, and I'm thinking, man, first sermon. I'm ready. So I go to the door, like preachers do, to shake hands, and everybody comes up, shakes hands. But I noticed that there's one guy over here who's kind of laying back. So he finally comes up at the end. He's on a walker. If he could have picked up the walker, he would have, but he couldn't. But he jostled the walker. And he says, "Young man, I hope that's your last sermon." I want to go find him if I could. Anyway, someday I'll see him again. And I said, I beg your pardon, sir. And he says, "You insulted us." I said, "How did I do that?" "You called Jesus the Good Shepherd." I said, well, yeah, it's right there in the book. If he's the Good Shepherd, that means we're sheep. I said, "Yeah, I think so." And he said, "Do you have any idea how dumb sheep are? You insulted us and you called us dumb. And give it up. You're done, sonny." And he jostled this walker. I was like, man, I thought about going to law school. There were a couple problems. I think he might have handled himself a little bit better, but anyway. One of the problems was that I wasn't inexperienced with sheep. Somewhere along our upbringing, my eccentric mother, I've got a whole sermon series on that, but she went to the Farmington Fair, bought a sheep, brought it home. And then she named the sheep Tiger. The sheep had an identity crisis. The first wedding I ever did was in my mother's backyard. She was an English professor, and I was doing the wedding with my new seersucker suit, and the sheep decided to turn into a ram and rammed me, so my new seersucker suit had green stains all down the front. It butted me. That was one of its spiritual gifts. When we fed the sheep would bite us. When we walked by the sheep would give us a snarl in the teeth. And we'd bring water to the sheep, it'd tip the bowl over and kind of look at you like, "What have you done for me lately?" And it picked up its steak one time and went into the woods and got lost. So we're out there, we can hear it, but we can't find it in the middle of the night. And so we decided, all right, no more steak. We'll put it around the apple tree. Then it used to wrap itself around the apple tree and then wake us up at 2 a.m. with its tongue hanging out of its mouth. And, "Nicholas, it's your turn." "No, Jamie, it's your turn." It was a little bit like the Waltons, where everybody's talking in the middle of the night, but no one was happy on that mountain. And then, when it was cold, we bring it we had a series of barns and sheds like they do in Maine. And we had a little pen in there, and it was all good, but it would eat the pen, get out of the pen, and then get into the garbage, eat the garbage, and then get sick. Now let's do a little reality check. Do we ever butt each other? Do we ever snarl at each other? Maybe we don't do this, but inwardly. Do we ever tip over the things that we need? Or do we ever bite somebody who's trying to love us? Or do we ever pull up stakes and decide to wander around and then get lost and have no idea where we are or how we got there? Do we ever eat our way out of where we need to be and eat garbage and then feed garbage to other and murmur around with a lot of garbage and then we just have a get sick party? Has that ever happened to anybody here besides me? Yeah, I know something about sheep. I've been dealing with them for 40 years as a parish priest. And I look in the mirror. So Jesus says that he's the good shepherd. Now, what's not said there is that he's calling the religious authorities around him, the scribes and the Pharisees, who are watching him with great scrutiny, what he's by implication saying, I'm the good shepherd, and you are the bad shepherds. Now, the bad shepherds, if you went back one chapter in John, you'd see that they're ostracizing this man who'd been healed and who can now see. And all they can see is that Jesus broke a rule, and this man is supporting Jesus, and everybody ought to go. Let's kill Jesus. Let's ostracize the man. That's bad shepherding. Now, he not only by implication says they're bad, he calls them thieves and robbers. I mean, there's a reason Jesus got crucified. He was not Mr. Rogers. And he spoke fierce truth, called them thieves and robbers. Now, I don't think we need to be going to look for anybody else as thieves and robbers. Looking at my life and looking at your lives, most of us carry thieves and robbers right here and here. We drag around our thieves and robbers. We got like a little backpack of thieves and robbers we drag around. So what robs us? What steals from us? Shame. I'm not talking about the shame if you betray somebody or hurt somebody or lie to somebody. Shame's appropriate. I'm talking about the shame where you feel shamed to be alive. You feel shame for who you are. You feel shame for the color of your skin. Or you feel shame for who you love. Or you feel shame for anything that you might have done, and you can't move beyond it. Or guilt. And I'm not talking about if you mess up and have some guilt. That's actually a good thing. I'm talking about the guilt where you just walk around all day long beating yourself with a stick. Guilty. Or how about anger that now we all have anger. I'm talking about the kind of anger where you're not happy unless you're angry. You're not happy. You're not fulfilled unless you're just chewing on somebody. You wake up and say, how is it that I can be unhappy today, and how is it that I can share my unhappiness, and that's my goal? That only robs your life, that robs other people's lives. We need to offer up all of our thieves and robbers to the Good Shepherd, who can protect us. Our Good Shepherd says that I came that you might have life and have it abundantly. That means not just enough. That means more than enough. That means lavish. Do we have abundant lives? Are we personally abundant? Are we abundant in patience? Are we abundant in hope? Are we abundant in giving people the benefit of the doubt? Are we abundant in always looking for the best? Are we abundant in thinking that people are doing the best they can do? Are we abundant with praise? Are we abundant with encouragement? Are we abundant with kindness? And how about this community of faith? Are we abundant here at St. John's? Are we abundant in this community where we're called to make a difference? Are we abundant in giving? Are we abundant in sharing? Are we abundant in creating love? Does everybody who lives here and prays here and worships here and serves here, are they filled up during that time, or do they get depleted? We need to understand that abundance is not a muscle. We're going to get abundance. We get abundance by residing in the one who's got more love than we could ever describe. If we dwell in his abundance, we'll be abundant. If we try to do this on our own, we shall die. So each one of us, individually and as a community, we need to decide, are we moving towards abundance, or are we going to move towards scarcity? Abundant communities become more abundant. Scarcity communities become more scarce. We need to make that choice. But I'll tell you what Jesus wants us to do is to live in the abundance of the Good Shepherd. We all individually need a Good Shepherd. I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm sheep. This Wednesday night we were looking at this lesson, and I said, how do you all feel about being sheep? And Mary Frances went, bah. And that was a good moment. And there was even another good moment. Don. Where's Don? Don. You all know Don right here. Don. You know what Don did? This is a miracle. We need to write this down. This is a miracle. Ba, 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 ba. It was a great moment. Here, Don, can you remember how to do that? You can't remember that. Well, the sermon's dead in the water now. All right. I know that without the Good Shepherd, I'm a bad man. I'm a sad man. I finally got an amen. Talking about, I'm a bad man. Amen. Jesus. I'm a madman. I'm a lost man. And I'm a dead man. I'm a dead man. Without the shepherd. Thank God the Good Shepherd's got patience. And this community needs to deliberately choose for Jesus to be our Good Shepherd. Because on our own, we act like Tiger the sheep. We butt and we bite and we tip and we get lost and we get tangled up. But when we focus on the Good Shepherd and we listen for his voice, not all the murmuring that can sometimes happen in parish life, and we focus on him and not on each other about what we're doing or not getting or not. No. Focus on him with our eyes, our minds, our hearts, our souls, and our lives. What happens when we do? He leads us to the still waters, because the swirling waters will drown us. He leads us to green pastures, where we can feast together rather than on each other. He will lead us through the paths, into the paths of righteousness. And he'll walk us through the valleys of the shadow of death and discouragement so that we can sit at his table and we can be fed this day, this feast, which is the beginning of the feast forever with our Good Shepherd. Amen.